this program.
It is now that part of the program when we go
Unbox, 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 unbox.
What's inside the box?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Kind of doing a weird thing today. As you might have seen from the thumbnail, we are going to be unboxing two massive toys today. This is the kind of thing that if I were a kid back in the 80s, I don't know, this would have been like a birthday and a holiday gift or something, because this is nuts. This is the kind of thing that maybe we'd be gifted for both me and my brother at the same time. That's how big this is, how big one of these things are. But we're going to go ahead and unbox two of them. So yeah, it's a little crazy. Because of that, I've kind of got this weird mic set up a little bit differently today. I'll give you a peek behind the curtain, but you'll also sort of see it in the backdrop. So I'm going to figure it out. Anyways, thanks to anyone who's here live. Let's actually figure out who's here. It looks like we've got a tiny group of awesome folks. We have got Eldor across the multiverse is here. Thank you. I'm glad that what do you call it? The all-seeing eye and the portals are managing to bring you in to check this out, to see what the hell's going on here on Earth. And we've got AI Collectibles. What's going on? What's going on? Thank you so much for dropping in. Totally quick, last minute. I woke up this morning and was like, you know what? I know those things are in there. If I don't do an unbox something live stream to get these things open, I'm going to be just frustrated because they're sitting there looming at me in this cardboard box. I'm hearing them rumbling inside. I'm just begging to be unboxed. So I was like, you know what? Let's just do it today. So we're doing it today. All right. Let's see. What do we need to do here? Before I sort of talk a little bit more about that, let me sort of show you what I had to do. And again, because I couldn't fit everything, I couldn't even fit the box in the cam, right? I figure maybe one of the better ways to just sort of show you what's going on would be to give you a peek at what it was like to open these things from the box that they were shipped in, and we'll talk a little bit more. Okay, so forgive me, relatively new here. Let's take a look at this together. All right, so this is the box, and you can kind of see the behind the scenes clutter here over at Brick Something. Let's see. Is that working? Yeah, and I'm here. Cool. So, oh, on that note, speaking of behind the scenes, I actually think we might have someone to kind of hang out for a little bit. Thumbs up if you're going to come on in and hang out and see this behind the scenes. Awesome. Joining me today is Adam from Highly Articulated. You there?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, what's up? Thank you so much for joining. I know this was super duper last minute.
No, absolutely. I was sort of already in my space, trying to sort of get through some stuff. As I mentioned to you when we were chatting earlier today, I'm going on vacation as of Monday, so I've got some sort of tidying and some loose ends. But he said, grab something to open if you have anything, because I'm going away. I didn't have much left.
Cool.
But I did manage to scrounge up a couple items.
Okay.
So I've got the Marvel Legends Dormammu and the retro carded Lady J to open.
All right, cool. So we've got some Marvel Legends and Joe Classify is going to be opened up, as well as these things. And I was just sort of talking through this this thing that I picked up. These are the All-Star Trolls that came in this week from Mythic Legions. My first Trolls ever. They're pretty large toys. Do you have a troll, multi-trolls?
I have the forest troll.
Okay. You got the cute
And
green one.
the green one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like my that was actually one of the very first things that I got from Mythic Legions. It was in the first box of Mythic Legions that I ever received.
Okay.
And have you opened the box yet? Like the outer box yet?
I was just about to sort of show them in this video that I shot before. I was scrambling, like, how am I going to do that? I couldn't even fit the box in the little
They're
studio setup.
huge.
Yeah, and this is this was my officially my first and maybe only, I don't know. I'm still humming and hawing on Necronominus all in, and it was really it was two items, right? And so look at that. Um,
Like this. Okay, so I've got for scale, I've got a GI Joe classified figure. Well, you'll do this, I'm sure.
yeah,
Let's see if I can kind of fit it. That's for scale. Like it's massive, massive.
yep.
Like yeah, they're bigger than you think they're gonna be.
Sorry, could you hold that up again? I was forgetting how to sort of handle StreamYard here for a second. I was
Sorry.
trying to get you all big and focused. What
Yeah,
you got?
hold on. Let me. So I've got GI Joe classified Outback, who is a decent size, 6-inch scale
6 inch?
figure.
Yeah.
It doesn't even.
You can't go grab your youngest for scale purposes? No.
I couldn't fit them both in the same shot.
Your youngest is how old again?
The troll?
No, your youngest child, right? Don't you have a little one?
He's 8 months. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to think like, I'm trying to remember. Mine are big now, 9 and 11, but that's a huge.
This thing weighs about as much as he does. So.
Yeah, wild. So that's what we're going for today on this end, except we're an orange guy and a blue one. So that's what we're working with, and it's totally new to me. How long ago did you get that, by the way?
Beginning of this year. I just got into Mythic Legions in 2020. Oh, not this year. Sorry, haven't sort of set my mind yet. The beginning of 2022.
Got it.
So the actually funny enough, it's about the anniversary. I go on vacation pretty much every January.
Okay.
And it was on vacation last year that I put in my first Mythic Legions order. They were sort of here when I got home.
Nice.
So this is like come full circle now almost.
So they were already available and in stock at that point. You ordered
correct.
And they showed up. Got it.
Yep.
And do you know when those were released? Sorry, I do a thing with Oz and them called Legions Class, but it's not as if I know things. So
I don't either. I just pretend to.
Do you remember about how long they had been out by that time? Like, had they been released?
Well, that troll was from All Stars 4. So I think they were released in like December of 2021. And I ordered it in January. So it was right when they had been released. But then that would have been pre-ordered, I think that pre-order was in early 2021.
Got it. All right. So we're talking about these trolls that have been out for a while. They decided to go back and release these two. So we'll take a look at those in a second. Yeah, let me come back to that video that I was about to sort of show, if I can remember how to do it. This is awesome. Behind the scenes magic. So I just shot this video before and you can kind of check it out. So, normally we'll do the glorious unboxing reveal. Don't know how. Hopefully, let me know in the chat if this isn't playing back very well. I can't fully tell. So,
are you? Did you preload that into StreamYard?
No, I didn't. I didn't have time. I literally. So this is just me opening this thing. So it's playing on my computer and sharing the screen. Might be a little chunky.
Yeah, you'll always get lag. I've had to learn that the hard way too.
Yeah. Oh, good. You can just sort of hear me fumbling.
Yours, that one looks better. Your video looks better than when I tried to do that. But yeah, it's I'll talk to you after about the better way to do that.
Yeah, I know. I tried to upload it and preload it, but
yeah.
No, it's just time.
Oh, okay.
So there you go. Hopefully you all saw that. It is a bit of a beast. Let's see, where was this? So the box was huge, right? And sort of what I also kind of wanted to show a little bit is, let's see. Oh, thanks, Daz. Daz gives us the thumbs up. that it was playing okay. It's just a little bit jumpy. We're cool. And he says, "What's up?"
Where you look? Daz also said evening. Where are you located, Daz?
In the UK.
Oh yeah, okay. So it's like proper nighttime then.
Yeah. Yep.
That's not even evening. That's nighttime.
Okay, so where was I wanted to talk a little bit. I don't know if you're very familiar with the release of these and you've been following, but there was some issue at the factory with these trolls. Yeah, so you're nodding. And they so this version of the trolls were each supposed to come with an additional head, an alternate head. And something happened in the factories. I was just watching Mega J Retro last night, sort of talking through what's been happening with Mondo, right? Yeah, some of the QC issues there. And it was real cool, like, sober conversation about QC issues in general and the realities. And I was sharing there just in the chat that, like, these are still things produced by humans, right? There's a ton of human error. Things are going to happen. And it really is ultimately about how a company sort of deals with it, right? And sort of chooses to communicate and talk to people and then make it right. So on that note, let me share a little bit more. Let's see. I wanted to share these images right quick of, so not slick, but hey. So there you go. There's a behind the scenes still of what things look like on my
Was that you
end.
trying to fit it into your like photo booth?
Yeah, that's the box trying to fit it in there. You can even see these these DIY things on the left and right. I'll share what those are, but that was my total DIY rig of some lighting setup. But there's the box, and I just want to highlight. I love it. They're like on the side of the box, like, be warned to shippers and to you. These are big, right? So you've got, sorry, from my end of that border, 8.42 pounds, right? Of the actual product, and then 10 pounds for the box. That's what we're dealing with, right? And then you see the measurements there. Great. And so there was this issue, and hopefully folks can see that clearly in the screen. It says there's a sticker on the outside that says, "Thank you for your purchase of figures from the Mythic Legion's All-Stars Trolls Wave. These trolls were meant to come with 2 heads each, but a mistake was made during production and only 1 head each was produced. We are now having those secondary heads produced for these figures. We will ship the secondary heads separately at no additional cost to customers once they're available. We expect to have the extra heads in hand mid-February." And then check it out for details. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your support, etc. Pretty simple, right? Like, there, boom, it's on the box. And really, if they just kind of done that on the box, that's one thing. You finally get this thing, and actually, if that was the only time you'd heard about it, that might have been a problem. But they actually went ahead and did several posts as soon as they found out, as well as a live stream showing that yes, we caught it. Here's the issue, and we're going to make you whole. I think there's some other items that are missing, like a chain. And they really broke it down on social media and on their multiple different streams on Mythic Conversations. Jeremy, their marketing director, I think, maybe title.
Yeah.
His sort of podcast live stream thing. And they showed what they're going to do. And what they're basically going to do is actually give us each not just the 1 head that's missing, but actually 2 heads, right? Because apparently one of the heads in here, anyways, basically you're going to get the same head that came on this troll already shipped, as well as the second one that's missing, as well as an extra part. And, it's great. And I just wanted to share that because I really, really appreciate that. And a lot of companies are doing that. I think it's just in the fray of sort of like toy fandom and anger and frustration and all that kind of stuff. People go nuts. Social media. Master Versal says, "I wonder if that'll be the same for all the BBTS pre-orders, as I have the Ice Troll there on pre-order with them." And the answer is yeah.
It should be. Yeah.
It should be. And their hope, I think, was to get it to those retailers like BBTS by the time they're ready to ship theirs out, after the Horsemen have sort of shipped theirs out. And so it'll just kind of come together, right, in your pile of loot or whatever it is. Yeah, and then we know that again, in the tradition of companies making mistakes, like they happen, and we know that manufacturing has since moved out to Asia and to China, and so like it's not like there's a fifth horseman chilling in China, right? Fluent in Chinese, like fully like talking about these things all the time. Same goes for any of these companies. So there's all of that. So Dad says that. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say so their guy is now in house. So Chris Garwich, William Smithsonian on Facebook, who's in the Cabal. He was their guy. I think he was in China for an extended amount of time, sort of pre crazy times that we live in now. And so he was the guy. Most companies sort of have like a consultant. There's a couple like really well-known dudes like within the toy community who are like the factory guys. Like I know the name of, for example, like the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom guy. He's like a well-known kind of factory liaison. And there's a few of those guys. I think this is one of those situations where for anybody that's not familiar with these trolls, these were essentially re-releases,
right?
And my suspicion is what happened was the factory kind of got the wires crossed, and they were just reproducing
what they'd already done,
what they'd already made. Because the issue, if I can grab this, I can show you. The issue with the heads, or the head that's on the figure, is actually different technically in one respect to the heads that are shipping. The head that's on the trolls is the same material on the outside as it is on the inside. The new ones have two different sort of, like this is plastic and I think this is more of a rubber. So it's a different durometer. It's softer. So it pops on and off the peg easier. And if they had just sort of made one more, you would have had sort of a mismatched set, which is why everybody's getting both heads like this, rather than sort of one head that's the old style and one head that's the new style. So but you're absolutely right. I mean, like the fact that they sort of got out ahead of it, they said, hey, we're shipping you these figures, but we know that there's an existing QC issue. And it's not even so much a QC issue as it is just sort of an oversight where somebody just missed it. But they sort of caught it once they landed, right? Like once the trolls showed up at 4 horsemen for them to ship, clearly somebody opened one and was like, hey, where's the extra head? And they were like, check another box. I wonder how many boxes they checked before they were like, this is all of them. But they're they've corrected the error. They're already in production because it's something that they already have molds for. It's not like they have to tool something. It's not like we have to wait. Well, I shouldn't say we. I didn't order either of these trolls. It's not like people that order these
the
trolls.
royal fandom, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Mythic Legion collectors in general, shouldn't have to wait too long for these. As I said, I mean, because they're already pre-produced, all they're doing is manufacturing more of something that they already have. So it'll probably jump in line ahead of something else. My guess is they'll get manufactured ahead of Chinese New Year, get on the water ahead of Chinese New Year, which is the end of January. And you'll get them. The one thing I don't know how they're going to do it, but as a Canadian, the issue that 4 Horsemen has with sort of direct sales is the logistics. So you order through FedEx, Canadians get dinged with like a bunch of like weird hidden fees. That FedEx actually mails an invoice like weeks after your figures have arrived. And I just hope that nobody gets dinged with like an import fee for these heads,
for the extra
because they
piece.
do have to put some value on it when they ship it.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I think they'll try to get ahead of that and try to set it up in such a way that it's shipped as like a gift or a sample, or like I don't really know the loopholes or sort of what is and isn't taxable and so on and so forth. But yeah, credit to them for that. I was on AI Collectibles show last night, and we were talking about, you know, customer service in relation to QC issues and stuff like that, and how some people do such a good job with it,
Yep.
and some people just do an absolutely rubbish job and just
Yep.
won't acknowledge that they've done anything wrong. And
Yep.
you know, Facebook groups will talk about it, and everybody will talk about it, but the company,
Right.
you know, that they're like ostriches. They'll just stick their head in the sand and just sort
Yep.
of hope that it sort of blows over. But it's
And
like,
by then
come
it's
on,
too
though.
late. The
But then
whirlwind's
it's too late.
going,
The
and
damage is done, and
yeah.
it's, yeah. I mean, like your company's reputation can go downhill real quick.
Yeah, and I think you know, there's been a couple of people mentioning. So Daz was talking about the HasLab Victory Saber, right? So again, just some of this. We had the Mondo, Shira, and He-Man that we've been talking about briefly, that I alluded to from Mega J. We got the Victory Saber, and they just sort of announced this week, I think, that they're like, yeah, new one's coming, right? You're gonna get a replacement.
What was the issue with the Victory Saber?
I-
I'm not a Transformers guy, so I don't know.
And neither am I. I sort of watched in the background while I was building these lights yesterday, and they were just really, is more so about talking about how they were handling it. But apparently there were some issues with I don't know exactly what. Let's see.
Let us know.
Yeah, but Hasbro is replacing them, and they're actually doing a whole other run fixing these things. They are asking you to send yours back, and then they're going to get you a new one, which is a thing. So again, in fairness, they're doing it, but yeah, and Mezco too. Daz points out that Mezco have the different plastics on the head, alluding to what you were, connecting to what you were saying with the original troll heads. Really does make a difference in popping the heads on and off, which is super important, because that, at least for a lot of people, including me, that's a play feature of Mythic Legions. Like, that's what I'm drawn to. What's going on? Good to see you, Radical Toys. Look at that head. And then, so as far as Hasbro, real quick, I pulled up Daz's thing. That's what was going on.
Oh, okay.
So,
actually, I had heard that there was a bunch of them that had like 2 left arms or something like that, or 2 right arms, whatever the case may be. But yeah, the heads. I mean, as far as 2 heads, my 7-year-old loves this head, and my 3-year-old loves this head, so they get swapped every few times that they pop into my office, because my 3-year-old is actually scared of this one.
Curious, are you doing the popping, or is the 3-year-old sort of?
Oh, no way.
Just wondering. I'm wondering, like, to what extent.
No. There's some. I mean, they're allowed to play with my Mythic Legions if I'm in my office and stuff like that. But as far as that goes, like, to be honest, I don't know that they would have sort of the tactile strength to do it.
Sure.
Because it's an easy swap for me as a 40-year-old man. But for a 3-year-old or even a 7-year-old, I don't know that they'd be able to do it. There's a little bit too much force is required.
Got it. Well, listen, why don't we, I know it seems like you were starting to open up some things. I know like, oh yeah, there's some trolls, but because you know how it is with mythics and twists and stuff, why don't I have you open up one of yours, and then I can kind of like do some work on this end on one of the trolls.
Oh, sure. I've already got one out.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I can sort of show them off and sort of show what I've got here. So I actually bought this guy in reaction to the Marvel Legends. Was it the 80th anniversary Doctor Strange? I should have pulled him off the shelf. I totally, like, that's why I bought this one. But Dormammu to me is sort of like Doctor Strange's, most iconic sort of villain. He's got tons. I mean, he kind of fights everybody. But this one was sort of a Doctor Strange.
Dormammu.
Yeah, and he was in the movie, and like this is very much the comic book version one. Yeah. So this one matches that figure well. And as I've said before, if anybody's sort of seen any of my videos, like, I can't just have a hero without a villain, because that's just a normal person. If that's the case, like, you kind of have to have that balance. But this is a really nice figure, and I've been sitting on it for a long time. He's got these funny, like, spiky boots, which I didn't even really notice in the package, but the detail is great. A lot of unique sculpt on here. The mask has sort of a pinstripe to it, which I don't think you're going to be able to pick up on my.
That was one of the things that I remember from the old comics and the drawings was
Mhm.
this sort of lined head. I love it.
The translucent flame sort of hair, the little mask thing sort of comes off. But there's a nice balance of like gloss and matte. And of course he comes out of the package with trigger hands, but he doesn't come with any accessories to hold. So I'm not entirely sure why he comes with those.
Triggers
also
or magic.
Yeah, so he can like shoot magic. Pew,
Yeah.
pew, 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 pew. I don't think he would do it that way, but that's you know. But
Love
he did come with extra hands, so he comes with a set of closed fists, which are always good, as well as these sort of open hands, which to me are probably the more magical, better sort of spell casting hands. And then he also came with two sort of magic flame-ish effects that match his hair. So that's a nice balance. So we'll pop these hands off, pop these magic effects on.
And those magic hands, I'm assuming, I mean, those magic effects end up on their hand, his hands, its hands.
Yeah,
Or
my
anyway.
magic hands are going to pop the hands off of him, put these effects on, and then his the hands that I think kind of look the best for display on. And
Yeah.
but he's just a cool figure. I mean, it's like I don't buy a ton of Marvel Legends that aren't like X-Men. but like I said, every once in a while there's sort of like Doctor Strange is just such a nice figure that
Was that your jam as a kid, the sort of mutant world?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like as like all
same.
growing up, like X-Men was my thing. I kind of got into some of the other stuff later. Like I got into Fantastic Four and Doctor Strange. Like as I got older, the themes in those particular titles,
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was more interested in some of the themes. Like as a kid reading comic books, you like I barely paid attention to sort of overarching plot lines.
Right.
It was more like, you know, the art would catch me. I would buy single issues of different books and stuff like that, but not necessarily like follow. X-Men was sort of the only one that I would sort of regularly buy. And it's funny actually, as a kid, like we had a bunch of comic book stores when I was a kid in Kelowna, which is a relatively small town. And I was always too like nervous to ask any of the shops to like have like a pull list.
I'm
Like,
familiar with that nervousness of going into the comic book store. Yeah, totally.
And then ironically, it was like 5 years ago when I kind of got back into comics that I sheepishly like went into a comic book store and I was like, if I was gonna buy this every month, like, is there like, can you just hold one for me? They're like, yeah, pull list, and I was like, yeah.
It's so funny because yeah, totally. As a kid, you're kind of like, oh, I'm intimidated. I don't know, these guys are gonna judge what I'm reading, whatever. But it's hilarious. Basically, you're saying, "Hey, can I give you money every month? Can I guarantee you that I'm going to be
guaranteed sales?"
Like they're going to go, "No, kid, get out of here."
Well, it was funny. There was a shop, and it was right downtown, and it was called Klinger's Comic Books. It's long gone. Like I said, there was like four. I think there was 4 comic book shops when I was a kid, and there's only one small one now. But Klinger's was the spot, and the pull list, like the slots for the pull list, was like right in the center of the store. Like the cash was sort of centralized, and it was on this wall. And I remember just looking at that wall and being like, one day, I'm gonna have a slot. I'm gonna have a box on that wall. That was like my dream as a kid. And now I have a slot, and it's not as exciting as I thought it was gonna be.
And I'm sure they're really grateful for you taking that slot right now.
Well, I mean, that's, you know, I actually funny you should mention that. I preemptively was buying gift certificates in like early 2020. I was like, okay, what can I do to sort of keep the businesses that I care about afloat? So I bought a pretty big gift card.
That's awesome of you.
When they were effectively closed,
Yeah.
knowing that, you know, with no income, you know, there might be 0 comic book shops in a year or whatever.
Yeah.
But they've done well. They survived. Being that they're the only one, I think probably helped. So
How's Dormammu coming? Because I'll tell you, man.
there's a lot going on with those trolls.
I was like, oh yeah. You were probably laughing when I said, oh yeah, I'm gonna try and keep it tight, like 45 minutes. You're right.
That was so my first box of Mythic Legions was the first like unboxing video that I ever did.
Oh, cool.
And it was just like a Facebook Live in the Canadian Mythic Legions group, Knights of the North. And I was like, I'll just bang this out. It'll be like 15 minutes. I think it was like an hour and a half.
Oh,
because it was like a troll, Arethyr, Aethon, and then like 4 other figures. Like it was, and if you're not familiar with who those are, like the troll's huge. And there's tons to sort of unpack there. Arethyr and Aethon, I'll show Dormammu in a sec. Arethyr and Aethon is right behind me because it's so big. It's on the sort of big guy shelf. And I thought I could quickly unbox this.
Oh yeah.
But boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
Between, you know, the size and sort of the just the nature of the horse in terms of how it was in the package, and then
yeah,
Arethyr, you know, has the wings and all the accessories, and you got to pose him up and get his flaming sword all sorted out. Like this, I thought, I like Dormammu took me 5 minutes to get out of the package from like taped shut to like done. This probably took me 30 minutes.
Yeah. That's how I'm feeling with these trolls, man. I'm sweating a little bit.
Oh yeah. Right. Oh yeah. It's an event. It's a whole thing.
Well, they'll see one for sure, and then we'll assess from there.
Well, you do this live and then you edit it, right? You strip it down to
yeah.
I mean, people hang out for it. If I've learned anything, is that if people are sort of down for one, they'll be down for 2. But yeah, this Dormammu, so there he is with his sort of magic effects that sort of wrap around his wrist. Awesome. These like Marvel Legends sort of magic effects, whether it's these ones or like the flame ones, or like there's a whole bunch electric ones. They work pretty well for Mythic Legions as well. Cool.
Yeah, we're finally getting those in the is it the Poxus wave?
Yeah, that wave is going to be really, really good. So for me, as a big fan of Zylona's Flock, and just of sort of the magical and mystical elements in Mythic Legions.
Yep.
That Poxus wave is it, man.
The wielders of that magic in that.
Yeah, and the Alithia wave as well. So the fact that we got a whole bunch more elves and the vampires in the Alithia wave, was right up my alley. The funny thing is, like Necronomicon, so I got in right at the wrong time in a certain sense, because I was like playing catch up, and I was like I was sort of getting a pre-order in at retail for a bunch of waves that had sort of already been out. And so 2022 for me was like a heavy year. Necronomicon for me, I'm looking at it, I'm like, there's like 4 or 5 things that I want, but that's about it, because I'm not a big skeleton or knight guy. So that's you know, a blessing and a curse. You know, you always you know, the plastic addict in me always wants more, but the reasonable rational father of 3 knows that less is sometimes more.
Yeah, I'm definitely going on that. I'm rethinking my Necronomicon. Initially I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go and get a bunch of figures all in. Now it's more like yeah, and it's a bummer actually, because they're great. And I also, but you know, between what I have, what's coming in, not just, you know, there's still like, again, the Poxus stuff is going to be coming in. There's an All-Stars wave coming in, and I have a couple things coming in. Actually, no, I think I might have gotten a lot of those. Yeah, a little scary. So let's see. Anything else going on in the? There have been a couple of things. And sorry, guys, if I've been missing. There's like a random question about some Lego in the background. It's all bubble gum and duct tape. No, that's
Take me off the big screen. I have nothing.
Oh
to show.
yeah. So no, because I thought
There's
if you
also a
had
build
that,
a
if you
figure
were,
piece.
if you had, yes, that's someone from your neck of the woods. No.
I don't know what this is, to be honest. This was like a build a figure. He's like some sort of like
Oh
robot.
no, it's not. I was thinking it was not Sasquatch, but
It's not the Wendigo. The
no,
Wendigo I have.
Yeah.
The Wendigo. You can't see him because he's up on the top. But
That's
actually, somebody
right.
was asking.
What's up?
Radical Toy said, "Is it you that has the Marvel Legends mojo?" And Dazatron's Diorama Llama said, "I think it's Adam who has that one." And that's true. I do have mojo. He's on that same shelf as Wendigo is.
Yeah. No, that's not me. So while it seems sometimes that I've got this very sort of broad taste and interest in a bunch of different lines, it's pretty amazing. I'm at least tell myself that I've been fairly disciplined. I would love to get a bunch of Marvel Legends. I would love to get, but now pretty much limited to a couple lines and then a bunch of one-offs. And
Yeah,
even when you were saying like, oh, I was catching up on Mythic Legions and I was going back, like I haven't done a whole lot of going back. I've done some.
Don't.
But I'm not. I understand that I can't.
Yeah.
I gotta break out those like baby Bjorn things that we used to carry our little guys in on my chest and just kind of put this troll maybe like right here.
So Walter the Mad from the Cabal. He's the guy that started the Mythic Legions Cabal. He's an absolute fiend for trolls, and he actually when he travels, and he travels pretty regularly for Mythic Legions actually, he takes a troll with him, like on the plane, and just like.
Does he buy him a seat?
Oops. No, he doesn't have to, because they're small enough. He could just hold it on his lap. But it's he posts pictures and videos of like people that are like being introduced to Mythic Legions by way of these trolls in airports.
Oh, sure. Yeah, he's evangelizing.
It's pretty cool. I don't
That's
quite
right.
have. Well, I mean, I don't travel alone. I always have my posse with me, and I have to wrangle them pretty regularly. So that's not really in the cards for me. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. He's got pictures of like kids holding it and playing with the trolls and stuff like that. And it's just like just a cool way. He's got pictures of like his trolls like at the bar with like a pint of beer while he's at the airport and stuff like that.
I haven't seen that.
It's pretty good.
And I love the Cabal. I have a love-hate issue with Facebook, and so I cut in back and forth in between sort of Instagram but it's almost like I've trained myself not to think too much about Facebook. So I know the Cabal's there and I jump on when I can, but I don't know.
You're a smart man. Because
that's what I think. So I definitely out of the loop a lot of times with some of that, but it's hard, man. And I used to be, but anyway,
I'm relatively speaking pretty new to Facebook, let alone any sort of social media. I kind of got it because of work. A few years ago when my role at work sort of changed and they kind of asked me to do some social media stuff, and I was like, okay, how do I sign up for Facebook? Like I didn't have an account.
Do I have to fill out an application and turn in my forms?
And now it's like I spend way too much time on here, but
yeah.
Nice.
So I'm not doing a whole lot of like ceremonious kind of unboxing. And that's kind of the way I've been rolling. So I apologize to anyone who was sort of expecting hey, talk through this, show me the packaging. I mean, I'll show you bits and pieces here. I will tell you, like, that's kind of how my channel is. I don't expect to be the first. I'm definitely not the first, right? So it's like there's folks who have done it earlier than me. There's folks who've probably done it a lot better than me. So, I kind of it's more about me, one, documenting these toys, two, like having this, I want to have this reaction to them. And, anyway, so I'll share a little bit of this footage. And again, it's not like I can. These things are huge. Like they're big. What they remind me of scale wise as a kid, we had the Kenner Rancor.
Yeah.
And size wise, just dimensions wise, it's the same. You can kind of see the packaging, and yeah, again, I feel like this stuff is here. The art, the Nate Barsh art, just has been covered, and it's clearly just fantastic and dynamic, and like love it. But so yeah, there's a troll. This thing. Oh, look, I got the perfect shirt on for it too. Hey, so yeah, I am curious, and I'm away from the mic. Hopefully, y'all can hear me fine. I'm pretty surprised. I haven't heated him up. You saw me just take him out of the box. He moves quite well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see with his head. So this is the old head, right? That is going to be tough for me to pull off. So my understanding is just heat it up and let the heat do its thing for a while and pop it off. Yeah, but it will definitely require heat. Is that right? Yeah. So the forest troll you got was already good to go. It was the original versions of these two that were the problem, right?
Yeah, that's correct, because it has the sort of dual durometer head. It was the nice thing about those trolls, they got a lot of ratcheted parts, so they hold their poses really well.
Yep, I hit click. Oh my god! First, just the sculpt is gorgeous, and then and I'm definitely going to play a lot more sort of offline with this guy, but just being able to play with him, the playability of it, it feels really good. This is a different, this is like that hollow sort of, right?
Yeah.
Actually really does.
It's a totally different product than any.
What do they call it? Roto something. I forgot what it's called. Look at that. The belly sort of hanging over the belt buckle, all one piece. Like it's not a separate belt buckle. That's molded. The belly is molded on top of that.
And he rotates at the waist, I think, too.
Yeah. And he's got this decent soft goods thing. It's not, as fancy as the newer stuff that's coming in, but I'm here for it. I'm a sucker for furs. You might have seen from some of my.
Yeah, and they do it right too, and they're just like you've sort of turned them around there. What surprised me and what I was like really impressed by was how much deco, like how much paint is on the figure. Like the shading and the attention to detail is like unbelievable with these.
I would just love to be a fly on the wall in the factory and just sort of see how they handle that, because when we were kids, it was like they put on the mask and hit one hit, right? There wasn't a whole lot of, I want you to do like a gradient here so that we've got this transition from the white to it was just like eyebrow, boom, like stripe, boom. Yeah. This is like some serious craft going on here. And I don't know what those lines look like. I don't know how many people it takes to finish one figure, right? And how many different passes happen. I'm really curious. Got even the feet right here, and the ankles are ratcheted. Do these ankles move? No, I think
no. There's a few, like there's a couple.
Right?
Posability wise and articulation wise, they're a little more limited than some of the other figures that Agent does, but I think it's for good reason. Like this,
of course,
he'd be too heavy for some of the joints that you typically put in. But what I found with mine, at least, is that like every pose that I want a troll to sort of hit, he can do. Right. Like this is like right about the minimum that you'd want for articulation from this guy. But when I've sort of discussed, just as an example, like Super 7 Ninja Turtles with people that sort of criticize the articulation, I'm like, okay, there's a couple times that I want a little bit more articulation with those because they are ninjas. But with a troll, it's like, trolls smash things. Like he doesn't need to get in a hero pose. He needs to be able to raise his weapon up and smash it down, and that's about it. And they do that beautifully. You've got enough articulation in the arm, which is really where you want it with a troll, I think, to kind of do it. you can get them in a really cool, like, for lack of a better description, sort of a gorilla pose where he's sort of hunched over with one fist on the ground and kind of rotated forward a little bit. You can hit all the poses that you're gonna want with a troll.
Well,
I
you
think
mentioned him holding up his weapon. I can sort of
that
show
thing's
you.
huge.
Yeah, this is there's the hilt. Here's the blade.
Do you have any figures lying around, like just a 6-inch figure lying around?
Yeah, good call.
Because that blade is bigger than most figures.
Here, since he's in the snow, let's get and you can kind of see. Yeah, you can kind of see.
Yeah, like that Santa is a full 6 inches tall. Father Christmas is a full 6 inches tall, and that blade is like what, an inch taller, 2 inches taller.
Yep. Thank you for your precision on that, Father Christmas. Just kidding. I think I heard you correct your child once.
Oh man, it's so funny that I mean, I don't know if you were sort of aware that like some Mythic Legions collectors, there was like pushback that they made Santa because it wasn't Mythic Legions enough, which I thought was hilarious. It's like, just don't buy it. I don't know what I don't know what the complaint is. Just don't buy it.
Yeah, yes, I'm not even gonna start.
Those ogre scale figures seem big until you get a troll, right?
Yep. Look at that. And I appreciate that because again, I'm building out a universe and like give me the denizens of this place. Like give me like the variety. I'm here for it, and you've seen some of the figures I collect. I got women on the shelf, I got folks of color, and then I've got bat-like creatures and eyeball creatures, and I love it, and for me, even just as a person who plays with toys, it's like, why give me the same figure, the same human being character with different outfits? Like that's cool, but like that was G.I. Joe back in the day, dress them in different outfits, and Barbie, like give me something else. Real quick, I'll just sort of show folks this. You've got the blade. This is just beautiful. Like if I had this as a kid, I'd be running around the house, like playing, some fantasy, like
that thing is big enough to be like a cosplay accessory for a human.
Yep. So it slots right in there. If you're smarter than me, you'd do it faster. And just, I almost expecting this thing to light up. It almost looks like something you would get for a kid, right? Like the little battery at like the store, and you turn it on, like, ah. So he's not even going to be able. You won't even be able to see this thing. Get you here.
No, you thought it was hard to get this troll in frame. You could add the sort of foot of weapon that he's got there.
Yeah, I asked that. I think it was on the Cabal, and I think you were the one to answer when I was like, does anybody have their troll, and can they measure it? And that was why I was like, wait, these things are coming. Like,
they're big.
How am I going to, where am I going to put this thing? And
so my troll's weapon just sits all the way down, and it just sort of sits on the shelf because it's too big. The troll
can't even stand up.
No, I can, but it's just like when you raise the arm up with the weapon, you're adding even more space. But for me, I just sort of turn it, kind of tuck it in.
This is wild.
It sort of rests on the ground.
Yeah, I can't. He is a little bit, it's heavy enough for him to. It's like I'm not going to be able to just let him stand there. I'm sure if I futz with it and found the balance point, I could probably.
They balance pretty well. Like once you sort of get it settled, they're pretty sturdy. They don't move around too much, but they just take up a lot of space.
Hey Nolan, how's it going? What's up? Payne's Toy Samples.
Radical Toys was asking about the Mojo. I can pull it down if you want me to. I don't want to sort of take over your troll unboxing though.
No, man. I that's why I was happy to. I'm glad you're here. Again, this was last minute, so
excuse. I wasn't expecting to sort of get up. Excuse my sweatpants that I'm sitting in here while I grab Mojo. Because
There's nothing wrong with sweatpants, man.
I have to rearrange a shelf to get Mojo down because it got a pretty big footprint. So hold on.
Oh my god, this is wild though. I just am blown away by this figure, and that someone actually made these, and
Yeah.
and they're like, no, let's make 3. Of course, they're largely reused for the most part, but just take a look at the
there's 4.
detail on this face. But they are reused, and as we'll see with them side by side, the way that the deco works, certain parts get highlighted differently, and they don't scream to me like, oh no, they're the exact same figure. But again, I was the person who grew up with Masters of the Universe and pretty much like the same body parts over and over again, and I was cool with it.
Yeah, G.I. Joe, it's the same way, right? You look at the original 82 G.I. Joes, there's like 2 bodies, and they just swapped all the parts and painted them slightly different shades of green. And then they're like, we want one more. Let's just do one with 0 deco.
And that became the one everyone fell in love with.
That's the one I fell in love with for sure.
Yeah, I remember Grunt and Zap, and even as a kid being like,
which ones? Which?
All right, guys, what are we doing here today? I don't know. Look at that. You got your Mojo?
Yeah, I do. Well, so somebody was. What do you want to see, Radical Toys?
Articulation, it says.
Of which part? There's decent articulation. My articulation complaint is that the sort of mandible doesn't really have articulation. It has some articulation on the end, but it's limited. The arms are kind of standard Marvel Legends articulation. It's a double jointed elbow. There's a hinge at the wrist. There's rotation at the wrist. The shoulder is standard Mythic Legends. Marvel Legends, ML. I get them confused.
Mm-hmm.
The sort of hands at the front are articulated at the base, at the elbow, at the wrist. I get like these are all like arms. These are all like arms. There's the articulation.
Each of those joints is look at that.
Yeah, each of the joints is articulated. It articulates pretty well. It's like pretty fun to pose and play around with. What did you say?
I feel like the belly sculpts could be competing. Who did it better, Mojo or the Troll?
I don't know, man. They're both good. Like they're just different. They both have that sort of overhang. They both this has good deco. You don't see it very well, but see that kind of pink.
That's what I love, and I think I mentioned it while chatting while you were opening that.
Yeah.
Just I love that sort of shading. It's like it's appropriately disgusting, right? I have sort of always expected him as this sort of like this creepy, gross body horror character. Again, not shaming folks, but like it's beyond like it's all about the like the sliminess a little bit, and
he's meant. That's the thing. Mojo is meant to be disgusting.
Yep.
I think I talked about this, maybe even not when I unboxed it, but just in sort of a conversation with somebody after the fact. Like the reason that we despise Mojo, the reason he makes such a great villain, is because he's just like he's disgusting and slovenly, and he's sort of a reflection of North American culture. His whole thing is that like he's happy to murder people if it makes ratings for like the Mojo world, which is like his TV channel, but it's a plant. I don't know. It's like it gets confusing.
Yeah. I love that you roped all of North America into that.
Well, I didn't want to just say that.
I know, I understand.
But no, we have it too. We have this weird complex where
and
like
Mexico's like what? Whoa.
Well, they're central.
No.
I consider Mexico Central America.
But yes, go ahead.
Then Radical also asked, I think he asked, does he turn at the waist? There is some articulation of sort of the top bit and the bottom bit. He's just you can do that if that's what you're asking. he doesn't move too much. I mean, he's pretty static. And as soon as you move the arms, you can see the hoses pop out. But that's I could probably glue him if I really wanted to. But for the most part, he just stays on the shelf like that, unless I'm taking a picture of him or doing something fun with him. But he's well worth it. I highly recommend this.
I forget. Like I remember seeing the single pack one versus the set, and I sort of forget. But one of them I noticed had a little bit more deco and sort of like liver spots and stuff. Which was which?
This is the single pack one.
Okay.
The single pack one to me is a little bit more comic book accurate, and the 4-pack one to me is a little bit more cartoon accurate with the spots and that. He's a little more yellow, whereas this guy's a little more cream, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And there's also there's a little bit more deco in you get more paint apps in the head and on the back of his little machine here. But the price point on that 4-pack really turned me off of the 4-pack. And so when they revealed this and sort of released it at the same time as a single carded, I jumped on it because I love Mojo. But
what are we talking for a multi-pack like that in Marvel Legends?
the multi-pack's like $140, I think.
Okay.
And then the single was like, I want to say that it was 60. But then in the 4-pack, like you get Long Shot, Dazzler, and an X Babies Wolverine, which is it's like a little whatever figure that I didn't
articulated, right? Yeah.
No, not articulated. I don't think at all. It might have like 1 point of articulation for the head, but maybe not even. And I just couldn't justify that price because like when you kind of break down the price per figure, it was expensive per figure.
Right.
And I open everything, so the box didn't mean anything to me. The fact that it was like a exclusive or whatever didn't. I mean, it's a toy for me.
Yeah.
The 4-pack. It
Radical
was borderline a 3-pack, if I'm being honest, because the but then they
what was it? Dazzler, Mojo, Longshot, and Wolverine.
Yeah. The packaging's amazing. The packaging is absolutely phenomenal. But I don't really want companies to bully me into keeping more packaging than I already do.
I'm looking at this as packaging. Why don't you? What else you got in terms of the? I'm Lady J. That is one I have seen. A Lady J. Let's see. How do I do this again? Yeah. Oh, this is the carded.
Retro carded. Re-release. That's why she's not open, because I've already got like 2 or 3 Lady J's. Because it's a great.
Do you want to open her? Like, what was?
Yeah.
You don't have to open her.
No, it's great. This is one. So if.
So for you, this carded version, it's not like the card. Like what? How do you handle it now? No,
the packages. If a figure that I want has cool packaging, it's a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Do I buy something because of packaging? Never.
Right.
Ever.
Sure. Okay.
Because I open everything. And then it's like, if the packaging is great, I may choose to keep the packaging. And if it's not, I have no hesitation to get rid of it. When I unboxed Dormammu, I already broke that box down to put it in the recycling. Like I didn't even, it doesn't even get a second thought. This Lady J card, I might keep the card because the cards are nice. I will say that. And because I'm very proficient, I've already got it cut off the card. Radical says that same Lady J is an upcoming unboxing I'm doing. Love it. Yep. There you go. Radical Toys.
I was hanging out. So I actually teach, and during the summer I have a lot more time. And that was when I was just kind of looking at different folks' channels, and I found Radicals, and I was spending a lot of time on his streams, and just it's awesome kind of just seeing him unbox things. And he's actually in Canada as well. What part, Radical? I think you're more on the east side, right?
Most people are.
Yeah. And so I remember at one point, like there were figures that weren't coming out over there, and I offered to get him like a new Eternia Beast, man. And then I looked at the shipping. Whoo! that ended that pretty quickly. And then he found out how much figures, even though y'all are spending Canadian, sometimes here in the Bay Area, that Beastman was is still $40.49 at Target. Yes.
What? Oh
Yes.
yeah, because that's okay.
Yes.
That's interesting. It seemed to be like just certain
Yes.
Bay Area and LA seem to be the
Yep.
two places where like Target prices differently.
Yep. We have different markets. It just sort of depends, but also, you know, when I look at that, and again, that's not the same everywhere, but you know, when people are talking about these figures, and obviously not the trolls, but like that Necronominous wave is coming up, $37 effectively for pre-order. And then I'm like, yeah, $40.49 for a new Attorney Beast Man. Like, yeah. Quality
That's like
wise, everything.
100 Canadian dollars.
Right. Ooh.
No, I don't
So
know.
do you want to do the Lady J? That's not $100. It's more like what, 60, 50 something?
Well, I'm going to the U.S. on vacation,
Oh,
and
you are.
$100 US is 142 Canadian dollars.
Okay. Okay.
So you basically, I safely, just because I'm also like, okay, and I gotta get it back. I gotta get something back with me. Like if I buy something across the border, I always add. So I'm in the mindset when I'm going now that it's sort of like, you know, add another 50%, and that's sort of what it ends up costing. So
Are you all driving, flying? What's the deal?
we have to fly.
Oh, right, because of your geography.
Well, no, because of the geography of where we're going.
Oh.
We are going
That's
to.
I'm not. I don't. You don't need to reveal anything you weren't planning.
Oh, I don't care. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm. You know, we'll see. I might not be doing any streaming while I'm there because I might not have the ability to, as far as Wi-Fi and stuff like that goes.
Sure.
We're going. We're going to Maui.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, you're going to the one of the best parts of this country.
It's yeah. I always think, you know, if you were down on your luck, downtrodden, whatever, sell all your stuff and move to Hawaii, because you're in the same country.
Respect and
it's
apologies.
like,
And yeah. I was just gonna
but
say
it's not
respect.
the same country.
Yeah, respect, apologies, and acknowledgments of the people of Hawaii.
Well,
But,
yes, there's absolutely that too.
But that's a whole other thing.
You're in a U.S. state, but you're not in the U.S.
That's why I get into toys, to be honest with you, because if I think too much about the realities of the world, I'm like, yeah, Eternia, thank you.
Isn't that all the more reason that, like, and I think you're the same as me, Brick, in this respect. Like, isn't that all the more reason that when people are like trolling and like complaining about toys, you're like, what are you? Why?
Right.
Like, if you don't enjoy this, either one of two things. Either it's because like you just have a nature that you like to complain about things, or like you're so unhappy that like the thing that should bring you joy isn't even enough. I'm like, I'm sympathetic for people like that,
which is really sad. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? Like we can all just go like, oh, that's silly and people shouldn't do that. But like, I don't know where people are coming from, and I don't know why they're complaining about toys. Sometimes there's like, you know, there's a lot of reasons.
Like, you okay, bro? You good?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, man. If toys don't bring you joy, that's really sad to me, because that's, you know, for me, they're an escape and they're fun.
Yeah, man. This is like, think I'm 46 years old. To think like what, 40 some years, 39, 38 years. This is the version of like, hey, come over, let's play with toys. Let's talk about toys.
Exactly.
I should be having fun. Like, on that note, how are you doing over there with Lady J?
Oh, I've been sitting here not unpacking her, so that's
okay. Yeah. You do that. I'm gonna sort of I got the see, this is how I roll. What is this troll called? It's not the ice troll. What would that be? Ice and
that's Brontis.
Oh no, Brontis is a named character. That's right.
Yeah.
But is that Brontis? Is that the head of Brontis? That's not the head of Brontis.
No, that's the original forest troll head.
Yes. Brontis
that's the original stone troll head.
Gray, right. Brontis is a Cyclops, yeah? So Brontis actually looks like this.
Yeah, that ice troll head is the original Brontis head.
Mm-hmm.
The head that's on the Brontis colorway, the red one, is the Stone Troll, original Stone Troll head.
Got it.
And then when they've done the re-releases, the original Forest Troll, which is the one that I have, which is the green one. Well, I don't have the original Forest Troll, but the Forest Troll's original head was the horned one. And then they added... No, that's wrong. I'm so confused.
It's all right.
The original Forest
Just
Troll
words.
came with this head. And then the Ice Troll came with that horned one. And then the second releases, the Stone Troll, came with the one that's on that Brontis.
This one.
Plus this one. And then the Forest Troll came with this one plus the Ice Troll head. And now the Ice Troll comes with the Brontis. The Brontis comes with the Stone. I don't know.
So
There's a
you're
lot of them.
saying this head that's on Brontis right now, on this guy, originally came with the gray one?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
And
Yes.
so if that's the case, do you know, did that have that, like, is this head have the same issue, or does it have that softer
No, so that's the thing. The two heads that come on those
Both of
trolls
them do.
both
Yeah.
have the single sort of plastic,
Okay.
which is why they're sending two.
Right.
Because it's they're not adding, they're replacing.
And when I saw that initial post, not knowing about that issue, because I just didn't know, I wasn't around. I was like, wow, they're really just going to ship everyone an extra head, and then not realizing, oh yeah, no, there's a reason why even everyone needs a replacement head for the ones shipped. Look at Jay and her cut. Hold on,
Her hair comes
G.I.
off.
Jane cut.
Her hair comes off when you take her out of the package.
Look at that. Oh, hair and hat are combined, or are they
Yeah.
two separate pieces? Yeah. And again, I've seen people complain about all sorts of things, but I was like, man, I was there in the 80s. You should have seen the original Lady Jake. And then people talking about the CoverGirl sculpt. I was like, have you seen the vintage CoverGirl?
It looks good. I don't watch, so I have because I do unboxings and stuff, I tend to not watch reviews of figures till I have them in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I'm sort of not convinced that I want them and I'm maybe on the fence.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't seen the reviews of that CoverGirl head, but I've heard that she looks better in person.
Yeah, folks have joked around on GDL. We were kind of joking around saying that she's looking a little like oh god, what is Joan Rivers?
Yeah, a little.
Here I am. I'm looking at Daz saying we've got so much toys nowadays. It's unreal. It's a fantastic time to be a toy collector. And Radical Toy saying, yeah, I agree. Toys are so important to child development. Good, we can pass on the torch. Absolutely. And I'm sitting here with this thing that looks like, frankly, a baby rattle, which is kind of awesome. These were original to, like, nothing is new, right? As far as everything is just sort of like all stars. Here you go, and you get an additional painted head.
Yeah, it's basically the heads that are different. The figures themselves are the same. I've heard people sort of saying that the colors, like the shades, are different from one production run to the other. But that just makes sense because they're mixing these paints. And in some cases, like that Brontis is 5 years ago. They made that first version. So, yeah, man, it's been a while. They might have lost the original recipe for that paint color. So.
And I can't even believe these things are just someone, again, said it earlier, someone went and made these things. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad that they ended up re-releasing these as an All-Stars wave. For those of you who might not be too familiar, they do that occasionally with figures that people want. And usually they're kind of voted on, right? I remember sort of being around as people were deciding, hey, decide which ones you want us to re-release.
Yeah, the All-Stars, cool. Those are the All-Stars waves.
Mm-hmm.
And the Trolls had just been sort of additions to the All-Stars waves for the last couple waves.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, the All-Stars wave was like more figures than it had been previously. And so they just they did the Trolls separately so that like an all-in wave wasn't like $100.
Mm-hmm.
Which is probably a good idea because it's bad enough when it's like a new wave of figures that the waves are sort of $600-700. I've never done an all-in because there hasn't been a wave where like I wanted everything. Also because I'm ordering, I don't order from Four Horsemen unless it's an exclusive. Being in Canada, by the time you pay, by the time you pay the shipping, by the time you pay the exchange, by the time FedEx hits you with the hidden fees, it's typically a wash to just order them from Micah E Collectibles. Like he's sort of the guy in Canada for Mythic Legions, and price wise, you're basically paying what you would pay from Four Horsemen to just get them through him, but you don't have to deal with like hidden fees or anything like that. And I mean, for me personally, I like to support a Canadian guy, and sort of he's somebody that supports the community, and just through being a customer. Well, actually, we became friends first, and then I became a customer. So he's just a good dude and a guy I'm happy to support. So
yeah. How's Jay doing? She out of her prison?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just sort of getting her all queued up with her accessories. And
I was actually on Radical Toys stream yesterday, and he was looking at a Baroness. And at one point he asked, like, "Oh, who are the females, the other women in the Joe lines?" And I was like, started to name them, and I basically think I got down to 4, and that was it, or 5. So it's like Lady J, CoverGirl, Jinx, Baroness, and I think that might have been there's one more.
Scarlet,
of course. I forgot Scarlet, and that's
Helix.
It. Oh, that's after my time.
Sharpshooter.
Oh, so that's way after my time.
There's more. They've added more.
But how? Like, when was that? When were those coming out? I don't even remember the name Helix. So that shows you like where I stopped.
Helix is like from the Devil's Due comics, I think. Or no, Helix was in one of the video games, I think.
My bad. I'm literally talking the toy line.
Just the vintage stuff?
Yeah.
Vintage, we've got Scarlet, Lady J, Baroness, Jinx,
Zorana. And I think that's where I stopped.
About it. In the modern, we got a few more. Like in the sort of modern line, we got a few more. We're missing Jinx. Radical. Do you mean in classified? We're absolutely missing Jinx. The thing about Jinx, and this is I think we'll get her sooner rather than later, because Jinx was first in the movie, and we've gotten so sort of movie related characters. We've gotten Falcon, or Falcon's coming. Chuckles is coming. Tunnel Rat is coming.
We'll always laugh at Chuckles.
I think Jinx has got to be coming up pretty soon.
Yeah. And there was I wonder if they'll get that. I don't know if they want to get to Cobra Law, but there was a woman in Cobra Law that they never made. I remember being frustrated that when I seen the movie. One, I wanted like an army of those little soldier guys. They looked really cool. They were like sort of my Robotech stand-ins too.
I would love to get Python in classified. The Cobra Law. I mean, I don't. Serpentor came out, and I was like happy to get it, but like Serpentor is not really a character that I love. But the Cobra Law stuff, that stuff would be pretty great. I think they can wait a couple years in that line. Like it doesn't. That's not like Cobra Law is not figures on my sort of immediate needs list. They're on my sort of long list of figures that would be really cool to get. But female figures, as the father of 2 daughters, like I'm always excited to add more female figures to my shelf for sure.
Definitely. Take a look at my unbox cam. Oops. Sorry. And you can probably guess how I reacted to Cobra Law. I know a lot of my friends were like, "What is this? Like G.I. Joe? Like, why are we getting these weird creatures?" And I was like, "Sweet."
Yeah, that was my reaction too. Actually,
I was once a man.
I So my cousin, when I was a kid, my cousin had like a VHS of GI Joe, and so we would watch it all the time. And I thought that was the GI Joe movie, but it turns out it was the first miniseries. And so it was like way later that I saw the movie because it was like it was on TV, but I don't think it was ever on TV, at least where I lived.
The Weather Dominator or the Mass Device?
Mass Device.
Mass Device. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you saw that after you saw the movie. Is that right? Is that what I heard?
No, I saw the movie like really late.
Like you saw the movie. Okay.
Like I probably saw the movie in like the mid 90s.
Okay.
Having watched the first miniseries so many times because it was on a VHS, and I just assumed that was the movie. I didn't know, as a kid, before we had, internet and you could just look all this stuff up, I didn't realize that like the movie was a totally separate thing. I didn't realize that like if it like that was back when like if you wanted something off the TV, you'd record it on a VHS tape. But this was a pre-existing VHS tape, so I just assumed it was the movie.
Sure, that makes sense.
And I don't know that he knew any different either, because it was like his mom probably bought it for him, and we just watched it all the time and played with the action figures. But I was none the wiser that I wasn't watching the movie. But I loved it.
I did too. I did. I had a lot of fun with it, and I just want to sort of show this. Like, this is pretty wild.
They're huge, right? Like, it's bonkers. When you put them in hand, though, like when you put that club in the troll's hand, it doesn't seem big. But out of its hand, it's ridiculously big. Like, that's a log. The handle for that with the skull is just a log. And it's barely trimmed, right? Like, it has that stump on it and everything. And when you realize what it is, you're like, oh, this is like a 6-inch scaled tree.
Yep,
with
pulled out of the
giant
ground.
Troll skull on it.
Yeah, this skull too is pretty fascinating. This is the skull that's on the skull of a creature that's on my Brontis over here, the orange one. And
yeah, so this there's lore behind that, and I might get it wrong, but my understanding is that Brontis is the only one of the trolls who's actually like a good guy. He's from House of the Noble Bear, but he was forced to fight in the gladiator pits, and he was forced to fight his friend, and that is the skull of his friend.
Cheery.
Which is, I mean, come on. These are not toys for kids.
I'm looking at this. So on this, what I've got going on with this kind of comparison, like this just sort of shows you what is going on with this toy line, right?
Yep.
There's a variety from the get. It's a full-blown world. There's different races, species, different scales. And I absolutely love that. Right. I used to get so excited. Speaking of G.I. Joe the movie, when I first got Globulus, I was like, oh my God, there's just like a new part on these G.I. Joe vintage figures. Because really they're pretty much all the same, constructed the same, etc.
Yeah.
And I loved that stuff. So I look at this and this, it's pretty amazing. And as you said, they're constructed. These two trolls are constructed very differently from any of the. They remind me. They're basically like vinyl figures, right?
Yeah.
They're like large vinyl figures, which 100% makes sense for this form factor. And and then they've got the ogres, and then they've got this guy Afarius, who if he had sort of more human-like legs, would be a whole other scale. He is not the same as sort of this guy right here. That's cool. And then, you can't forget the Varg. I mean, this brought me back to, I don't know what they're like, hey, we really like Masters of the Universe. Like, I don't know if they're like, yeah, right. It's like, it's a body size that's very similar to an Origins figure or a vintage Masters figure. And it's just fantastic.
I got this for fodder. I don't even care for this figure. I'm going to turn him into like a 1.0 full scale. Like, I'm going to put normal legs on him and make him just like the toughest vampire. I don't love this head sculpt either, personally. He's going to get, the vampire head in the head pack that's coming up?
Yes.
He's going to get that head. and then he's gonna get the lower legs from a Valak. I got an extra Valak, so
I love those legs too.
it
Let's
just
see
there's
Jay.
these
Oh, sorry.
figures.
Mhm.
No, just like you've got them all sort of in that shot there. You've got just about every scale. So you've got trolls at the back. You've got giants in the half giant and Decebalus. You've got brute scale on the Apharius, and then 1.0 bodies in the unknown. Is that the unknown one in Valak? Technically, it's a 1.0 body on Varg as well, but it's a dwarf, and then a 2.0
Yep.
kit bash that you've done. I think that's an LBC with a Hera head and
It is.
I can't remember the name of that elf.
LBC being Long Beach. No, Lazy Boy Custom. Yeah.
Lazy Boy Custom, known to the GI Joe community as a kit bash. I always call it a kit bash coming from GI Joe. But anyway, so yeah, this guy's gonna become an LBC because it's so easy. Like the parts are all interchangeable. Even between some of the scales, like the brute scale stuff is compatible with 1.0. They're making adapters for some of the 2.0 stuff. I also wanted to point out that Varg is not quite the smallest you can get. The goblins are smaller. Thistlethorn is my absolute favorite figure. He is a fuzz monk, forest goblin. He's a good goblin, and he's my favorite figure. And he's coming with me to Hawaii.
Oh, really? I love
he's
it.
going. So his backstory is he's a relic hunter. So he's gonna go hunt relics in Hawaii.
You gonna be taking some photos and kind of him around the
Probably,
area?
probably not, but that's the idea.
Have you been to Hawaii? This is your first time.
No,
Okay. You've been multiple times.
Yeah, I'm very lucky, very blessed that my wife is much better at managing money than I am. So we've been a bunch of times.
Awesome. What do you got with Jay? Can we take a look at her and just sort of see?
Yeah, I was gonna do is actually grab the previous version of Lady J.
Yeah, I'm curious what's different.
Yeah, so I'll show the previous version as just sort of a one-to-one comparison, and then I'll show you why I actually really love this figure and why I was more than happy to get a second version. So this is the retro carded version, which is inspired by the vintage figure, which is close, but like this is pretty accurate. It's almost identical to the vintage figure in terms of color. It's a little bit more monotone than what we got in the classified line, who has some more browns and stuff going on. The hats are a little bit different. She got a navy blue hat instead of the black hat on the retro carded one. Retro carded one came with the little video camera accessory and a more vintage inspired backpack. But just an absolutely great figure. The classified one came with the hat, but the classified one also came with the more cartoon accurate hair. So you can just swap. You can just swap that right over. But a green female body. I gotta try to not knock everything off my shelf as I grab these. A green female body is a great buck to have in a military line.
Yeah.
I did an even more cartoon accurate Lady J just by dyeing her legs. Just simple Rit dye. Went a little bit darker because that's more cartoon accurate.
Can I see that again one more time? Sorry.
Yeah.
Great job. Look at that.
So nothing, I didn't go crazy. It's just that, the hair is cartoon accurate. And then I went with sort of more of a brown pant almost.
And when you dyed her, did you also do some additional paint, or did essentially what was brown on her got darker and what was green on her got darker? Everything's just sort of got darker. Got it. Very cool.
So to compare the legs.
Yeah.
Anything that's painted when you dye it typically stays pretty similar. So the dark green on the leg here stayed dark green, but the light green, which is just the plastic color on here, went kind of dark brown.
So, but the one that was dyed was not a carded one. It was the other one. So there's certain deco hits that are different on that one. Then yeah, got it.
Yeah. So It looks as though on the carded one that the same section is painted, but it looks to be like almost the exact same shade of green. Because I'm up north, it's getting dark, so I don't have any natural light. But in the artificial light, it looks almost the same. It's like one shade off. But I did a custom cover girl as well with that same buck. So I did the same thing, not quite the same amount of dye in this one. They went a little bit lighter with the legs, but then I put some Marvel Legend. I think it was a
Frost.
Marvel Legends Black Widow.
Oh, that's
coat
Black Widow.
and arms, and then Emma Frost head.
Oh, it
And
is an Emma Frost head.
now I don't need this anymore because we're actually getting cover girl. But
Pretty cool looking though. Do the parts swap out between Marvel Legends and
not universally, but in this
Okay.
case they did, which I was very thankful for. I typically, like when I'm doing kit bashes and stuff like that, I'll typically like test fit everything before I start dyeing or painting anything, because the worst is if you've like painted and dyed all these parts and then nothing works, it's not compatible, and then you kind of have to, you know, U-turn a little bit.
You'd think that Hasbro would do that a little bit more and sort of make the parts compatible. I guess there's probably some issues with the licensors too. I don't know, but
It's exactly that. It's 100%.
yeah, it is that. Yeah,
I've asked, and that's the answer that I've gotten.
You'd sell a lot of toys that way, though. I suspect.
Man,
Right?
look, we're talking about Mythic Legions. We're talking about
Yep.
part of the like.
Yep.
I bought this just
Yep.
for the parts because I know without a doubt that these parts swap. No stress. They're gonna swap right over, so I can do my custom figure. You know that ahead of time, so people buy extra figures for fodder. People are looking at the figures like, okay, what can I do with these new parts? You know, it's not quite the same with Hasbro product. If it was, I mean, yeah, forget it. People would be buying figures for the hands. People would be buying figures for the boots.
Yep.
G.I. Joe Classified, for the most part, is interchangeable parts wise, apart from the neck, like the ball joint not being the same size across figures. That one I can't wrap my head around, because it's your line. Like there shouldn't be a licensing issue there.
Yeah. Real quick, there's a question about the hair. I said the hair. I'm thinking hair dye. What dye? What dye did you use? Rit dye, right?
I read the question, and I was like, that has nothing to do with hair. What did I miss?
No,
Maybe I'm not reading the right thing.
No, it's me. Yeah.
Jazzatron's Diorama Llama said, "What dye do you use? You want to use the Rit Dye More synthetic dye."
Yeah.
As it happens, I have it close by. It's that one right there. And if you are going to do it, make sure that you get the one that says synthetic. It says synthetic fiber dye, Rit Dye More synthetic. If you get the normal one, it doesn't really work because it's designed for cotton, essentially. So it's a different formula. But this stuff's great.
Yeah, I will get into that probably in the summer. I think that's the point where at some point I'm going to have to stop buying and then find a new way to enjoy the things I have. And that's where it's like, okay, let's
Dios and kit bashing, man.
Yep. Anything more that you wanted to show us on Jay?
No, that figure's been out for a while. I'm looking at 4 of them now with the kit batches that I've done. Like, no, she's people have, that figure's been done to death. So it's a great figure though. I'm still shocked that that was like a peg warmer for ages. Like,
it's still available here.
Yeah, because like here I was picking up multiples of it, especially once it started getting discounted. Like, these are the ones that I've used, but I think I still have 2 more like in a bin of my fodder parts, because it's such an easy one to use, because it's green fatigues in an army line. It was a no-brainer for me.
Well, I think pretty much that's all then that we're sort of unboxing. Again, we're gonna wind this down, but here are the trolls on my end. I kind of stripped this down a little bit because I did maybe want to just show you a little bit more if you were thinking about other lines. Let's see, like I keep showing this figure only because it's what I have, but this is the yeah, a lot of stuff is kind of in another place, but there you can kind of see a He-Man sized figure. This is a Masterverse figure with a custom head and soft goods, but you can see the scale. I mean, this is perfect, right? Like if you are a you know, a He-Man Masters of the Universe fan, you want him to maybe go against some giant creatures or befriend them and ally them, they are available there. Let's see what else. And then, you know, because we were talking about the potentially just reusing parts for other lines, and you confirmed what I'd suspected around the licensors having issues. But you know, people are always asking, like, why can't they just do a Dino Riders line? Why can't Mattel just do a Dino Riders line and take this? And I figured, it's like, no, there's definitely something else going on. But for size comparison, there is a Hammond collection Rexy. And then getting petted, you know, by Brontis there.
I mean, it's too bad you mentioned Dino Riders, and we talked about this
Yep.
in a video that I did on my channel a while back, like lines that we wish would come back, and Dino Riders was right there, and it's crazy because Mattel owns Dino Riders, and Mattel is doing those Jurassic Park figures, and we were like, they're right there. They have the molds. They like it.
Right.
It would be a no-brainer, but I mean, I guess the money from Jurassic Park is enough that they, you know, they're like, well, forget it.
And it's all self-contained, and yeah, I'm sure there's like I get it. Oz is in the house. I was asking Oz to maybe jump on too. We are totally closing up, and I believe I'm gonna end this soon and jump on Oz's just watch Oz. But I did want to close up, but you and I are going to hang out again tomorrow, and we're going to talk about animals, right? And so on that note, let me just sort of tease an animal that I picked up that I couldn't wait to be able to do a live unboxing for this guy. So I went ahead and just did it old school and recorded a video because I'm like, I need to open this thing and play with him now. But there will be a video dropping soon on my channel with this D20 boar, which I am absolutely in love with. It like totally hits all my Spirited Away Miyazaki. Yep. You know, it's just like get the young woman on top of this thing, and woo.
That's just we did another video. It was like, you know, IPs that should have toy lines. And I didn't even think of this, but Studio Ghibli should have a toy line.
I was saying it while I was watching. I was saying that while I was watching your stream and replay. Yeah, so I was like, oh. Well, hey, we've got animals here, and everybody knows, or a lot of folks that are on this, you know, stream and have seen my channel before, that I'm a sucker for both creatures and animals, right? So,
yeah,
what are we talking about tomorrow in relation to animals on your channel?
Well, here's the funny thing. Your video about Animal Warriors of the Kingdom was sort of the first thing that I saw of yours, and that's sort of how we connected. So now we're coming full circle, and we're going to do a video together tomorrow, and discuss the sort of the very soon to land in North America Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. We're going to talk about the figures. We're going to talk about the comic books. We're going to talk about the tabletop game that's going to be sort of connected to the figures.
Oh, cool.
It seems like every video that I do, I feel like I talk about them or at least like mention them.
Yep.
But this is because I couldn't hold back anymore. We're just doing a whole video about Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. There's going to be a bunch of spoilers if you haven't read the comics, which I will mention, but when we're sort of doing the video. But man, that line looks so good, and I'm really, really excited for them. It's sort of my most anticipated, you know, delivery for 2023, and yeah, I can't wait. I was talking to Jason from Spiro Toys yesterday, actually. So
Awesome. Yeah, and I can't wait for that. Those have been slowly sort of, we're seeing more and more of them. Jason's been doing like really seemingly random drops on his channel. I was like, oh, I'm at a coffee shop and here, let's open up Pale.
Yes.
And I'm just, well, what am I looking at? And so, yes, whatever we can do to let more folks know, because not everybody's necessarily seeing that, would be great. That was my intention with that video, and I was just so super excited for it.
Yeah.
And yes, as Daz points out, tabletop game. Yeah, I mean, it's really there's a lot going for this line. In addition, just amazingly sculpted and engineered figures with awesome articulation that can hold, do this that we wish Masterverse could do or whoever. There's also like there's a little bit of this piece where it's going to remind us how we can play with our toys and enjoy our toys and add this whole other component. It's got entertainment, as you mentioned. It's not a afternoon cartoon or Saturday morning cartoon, but for now it's a dope comic book with amazing art that's got kind of a sci-fi bent to it that we'll talk more about it tomorrow, but I was totally sucked in because of the things that I'm into, whether it's the obvious connection of like Planet of the Apes to just sort of like I don't want to say, I'll just Thundercats. I'll say Thundercats there. I'll just leave that there because there's something that really reminded me of the more recent version of the 2000 the 2000s Thundercat cartoon was like, ooh, like there's a lot of great stuff there, story wise, character wise. It's basically like, the YA hero's journey. A lot of cool stuff going on. So we'll be talking about that where and when.
So that's going to be on my channel, which is highly articulated on YouTube. If anybody's sort of watching now and they think about they might watch that tomorrow, I would strongly recommend, because they're super cheap. Go to spirotoys.com, pick up the comic books. They're $2 an issue. There's only 3 of them. So drop $6 and get the comic books. I've said this before. I'm a comic book reader, and this isn't just a comic book for a toy brand. This is like a legitimately good comic book, in my opinion.
I agree.
Those the Motu mini comics were like just shoehorning characters in so that they were sort of in a universe. But this isn't that. Like this is like proper world building and character building. And if you think the toys look cool, I'm almost positive you'll love the comic book. And I think, in a weird way, like I love the toys more because of the comic book. And so it's this whole, we're going to be talking about this, but it's this whole world that they're building. And this is just this, it's so refreshing. And I think, Brick, you've mentioned this before too. Like, it's so refreshing that this is an original IP, that these figures are not sort of piggybacking off of nostalgia directly. I mean, indirectly, I think they probably are. But yeah, like I said, go pick up the comic books, even if you're not going to watch the video tomorrow, even if you don't care about sort of talking about the comic books or even talking about the figures or anything like that. Just go get the comic books, because Jason is just an awesome dude, and he's a brand manager or brand owner who's worth supporting.
Yep. Well, we've got Scott, who is sounds like fully on board with AWOC, knows the characters, knows the story.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. I think that's part of the challenge, right, in this new media landscape, even for things like Masters of the Universe, where they release 2 shows, but it's not as widespread. There's way too much competition and oversaturation, lots of different outlets. So not everyone necessarily saw those. And the folks who did like to complain about it. So
I thought they were great. Those cartoons.
I did too. Yeah, for the record, I did too. But so that's tomorrow. What time?
2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. And some other time in Eternia there for Masterversal Toy Hunter. Dazatron, I think it's like 10 p.m.
He's like, it's cool, Adam. I can
wait. Is it daylight savings?
Look at you.
It's 8 or 9 hours, I think, to the UK. So, anyway, you'll figure it out. I mean, the easiest way would be to go to my channel and subscribe and hit that notification button, and then
That's
you'll know.
right.
You'll know.
I will put the link in the description of this video,
Oh, awesome.
for sure,
Yeah.
and I'll put that on Instagram too. And if you were able to catch this or came in late, I will definitely be editing this down as well as some of the lives into sort of shorter packages with a little bit more precision, and and cut
You just
them
edit
out.
me out.
No, and I will probably also, because I realized, I would love to talk a little bit more about the deck. I'll probably add little bits and pieces in. I've been kind of doing that. Like George Lucas, I like to change things up. Things are never finished.
You're gonna add digital effects.
Yep, I'm gonna ruin your childhood. So with that, I think that's
Animate
it. So,
all the trolls.
yep, they're gonna be animated. There's gonna be a giant one that just sort of poops on the other. So, anyways,
Mhm.
here we are with my twins, and you've got your little one over there. Look at that. There's such a colorful little yeah, that's the shot we need to end on. So, anyways, thank you all so much for being here today. Stay on YouTube and wait for Ostradamus Toys live stream in a little bit. So we're gonna head out of here, and we'll see you hopefully tomorrow, 2 p.m. Pacific time, and we'll talk AWOC. Woo woo! Here we go, babies.